Barakatah Yehovah, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachakudash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is I.U.I.C is a well-organized mess. Pretty much this lesson is inspired by one of the 7 videos that Elder Pastor made earlier. I believe it might have been the first one. Did about 7 videos today so far. And he mentioned that in there, and I did look up that term, a well-organized mess. And they have different sayings about it, but pretty much it's, really, if you look at it, it's really like it looks organized, but it really isn't. All right, and I meant to grab this one precept before we got started, but let me try to grab that up real quick just so I can know where it is. I got a little list, and we're getting ready to go to camp soon. So I'm just gonna go as long as I can before we got to split to go to camp. So let me just write this down since I found it. Okay, so so they seem to be well organized, but really when you go in there, they're really not as organized as they seem. Now the camps are, look in order. The garments, everything is, matching. Everything is. They have a certain decorum about them. And to the average Jake out there, they're looking at that, and that to them, looks like it's God. It's a godly thing, because they have a lot of members. They have money coming in. They have buildings. They have different programs going on, and the scriptures say, "Supposing gain is godliness." And now, on the other hand, they call us a bunch of bums, and that we're just bummed, homeless. We don't have any money. And it's that's not the case. It's not true, but that's what they say about us. And these zombies, they pretty much just repeat what they hear the zombie master say. Now, a couple of precepts that came to mind before, but let me just get this one since this one came up. This is in the book of Matthew, chapter 23. And like I said, I got a couple of precepts, maybe about 8 precepts, and then we could close the lesson out there. This is Matthew chapter 23. And when you read this whole chapter is dedicated solely to the cursing out of the wicked Pharisees and Sadducees and them, specifically the Pharisees, because they had this whole appearance of keep the laws, teach the laws, which they were correct in what they were saying. Because when you read the first verse on down, matter of fact, I just go straight to the point. Matter of fact, I start at 1. Then spake Yahushua to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. And right now, it seems like the I.U.I.C is sitting in Moses' seat. They have everything well polished, right? It says, all therefore, whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. Right, because they're telling you, when they tell you to keep the law, yeah, we are supposed to keep the law to the best of our ability. We can't keep it 100%. And I heard that, I'm not sure if that was Sakari or Genesis, they said that James 2 is not accurate or something like that, because it says, he that offendeth in one law is guilty of breaking them all, something like that. And he says something about that is wrong or that's off. I don't really know all the details. I just kind of overheard something. So you got these guys that's waxing worse and worse. But at the end of the day, concerning the I.U.I.C, when they tell you to keep the law, yeah, you keep the law to the best of your ability. But Yahushua said, whatever they bid you observe, that observe and do, but do not ye after their works, for they say and do not. So they'll tell you what the right things to do, but they're not doing it, because that whole place is a den of iniquity, and you hear little shit coming out the bishop brings out. Different situation with adultery and dudes in there knowing that a woman is married, sending her dick pics, and them among the leadership passing around dick pics. amongst each other from the Bishop Nathaniel, which we got from Shakya. Now they could say it's not true. Lord knows if it's true or not. You know, just like the things that he said when he called Elder Pastor Tahar, and he told him certain situations that were going on in the school, and now he denies that. You know, and I know the Elder Pastor Tahar is not one just to lie and make up some shit like that just to lie. But nevertheless, dealing with Bishop Nathaniel and the I.U.I.C, the Lord knows what's going on in there, right? It says for the and I'm just gonna jump to the main points. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. But all their works they do for to be seen of men, right? The marching and the wearing the garments and and all that flashy glimmer. They make broad their phylacteries, which they don't even wear their phylacteries, and enlarge the borders of their garments. Where your fringes at, brother? Now, let's jump down to the 25th verse to make this point here. It says, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, because at the end of the day, they were a bunch of hypocrites. And besides not having faith, one of the things that pissed I.U.I.C off the most was a hypocrite. It says, for you make clean the outside of the cup. Right, it looks polished and beautiful and immaculate and wow. These guys are so in order, but it's really a hot mess. It says, for you may clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within are full of extortion and excess. Let's look up a couple of these words. Extortion and excess. The word there is harpage. The act of plundering, robbery, plunder, spoil, right? So they're spoiling the people. Pretty much they're robbing the people. Extortion, right? They're extorting the people. From an individual or entity through coercion or threats, blackmail or whatever the case may be. It's often considered a criminal offense and can involve threats of harm against the victim or their property. So you're extortioners. And excess, because like the scriptures say in that's either 1 Timothy 6 or somewhere in Timothy, I believe it is. It says, supposing gain is godliness. From such withdraw thyself. So when you see an individual like that, you get the hell away from them. Excess is akrasia, want of self-control, incontinence, intemperance, right? Because they'll tell you to be, to be disciplined, to keep the Sabbath, to, not commit adultery, to not be a mole, to not do this, to not do the other. But then they'll turn around and do some of the things that they'll tell you not to do, and it's coming out. And they're even saying it among themselves. There's adultery going on, guys sending dick pics around, and wickedness going on. And a guy, got caught popping a goat in his mobile home. And then the answer was that he got a problem. Oh yeah, he got a problem, all right. Popping fucking goats. Come on, man. But we're the bums and we're the rapists and we're the just the worst of the worst. But that's okay. We'll be that. So let me read this again. It says, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within are full of extortion and excess. The blind Pharisees cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, meaning your spirit, in the inside, that the outside of them may be clean also. Yeah, so us, we look like bums, we look like trash, the offscouring of the world, But if you are viewed as like that, but the inside of the cup or the inside of you is clean, then you're good. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like unto whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward. Go by a cemetery. A lot of those those tombstones look like they, the way that they're set up and cut and stuff is beautiful. It's beautiful artistry on them. Some of them are marble, some of them shiny, different grains going through the, polish and, but what's in there? When you go in there, inside joke, is nothing but a bunch of dead men's bones, uncleanness. See, but are within full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness. So it's a well organized mess because it looks appealing to the eye, but when you start to go in there and you start to see what is really being taught, a lot of good is being taught, but then the little that's being taught that is not good, like the hell doctrine and the new moon being the full moon and the hell doctrine and whatever else they teach, that makes it all unclean. Okay? Says, so even so, ye also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within you are full of hypocrisy and iniquity. And that's pretty much one of the things that piss I.U.I.C off the most. So you appear to be righteous, but within you're really not. The committing iniquity, although you're pointing the finger, at other people as they're the ones doing it. You're pointing the finger to them as if they're the ones doing what you do. Now, let's go from there to Isaiah. Like I said, I just got a couple of precepts. Isaiah chapter 30. Just going to go straight to the point. Isaiah chapter 30 and verse 8. It says, now go, write it before them in a table. So what is the table? The table are the scriptures. So you have these individuals that have the scriptures, but they're teaching a different doctrine, another gospel. It's not another because they're using the same book, but the things that they're teaching are contrary to what the scriptures say. That's the difference. And noted in the book that it may be for a time to come forever and ever, right? And that's why these words that are written within this book, it really is a witness against all of us. Just want to look up this word table because we're going to build off on it, of that word. The word there's lawach, wood, plate of metal. And pretty much the first commandments were etched in stone. All right, so this represents what? The knowledge, and it represents what you teach. All right, now, this knowledge, this truth is supposed to be for our welfare, for our benefit, right? But for some, it's a trap. I.U.I.C, the brothers were doing the lesson here last night, and they were going into Luke, the 2nd chapter, where I.U.I.C was for the rise and fall of many in Israel. And then I thought about the scripture in Isaiah, the 8th chapter, where I.U.I.C would be a stumbling block to both the houses of Israel. So even today, even to this very day, you have the scriptures that are supposed that's for our welfare, but some, it's pretty much a trap unto them. And this was a direct curse that was put upon them by King David. This is a Psalm of David, which really directly, it's a curse on certain Israelites by I.U.I.C, who is the word of the scripture, which because he is the word. So Psalm 69 and 22, it says, let their table, let's see if this word table is the same. Well, this one is shalchan. The other one was lawach, I believe. Shalchan, table of king's table, private use, sacred uses, right? Which is what? This book, this truth. The holiness of this truth. So let's read that again. It says, let their table become a snare before them, and that which should have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. So they're out there, right? They, as it's commanded, go out on the streets, the highways, the lanes, and teach his word. But pretty much that table that they have set up, the different schools and the teachings, has is pretty much tainted. Let's go, and because why? They've been cursed that way. The scriptures speak about those that were appointed to pretty much go off. Let me get one precept, Salakia, and then when we get that, then we'll jump back to Psalm 69. Chapter 28, chapter 28, and verse 8. Matter of fact, I started at 7. But they also have through wine. To err means to commit error in the scriptures. What is the stupid? Because proper understanding. And if they don't have the proper understanding, they're going to go off. And that's what you see groups like the I.U.I.C doing. But they also have erred through wine and through strong drink are out of the way, right? So through this strong drink, through these other philosophies that they've tried to marry with the scriptures, they've gone out of the way. Like I told the wicked Pharisees and them, you do err, not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of the Most High. It says the priest and the prophet have erred through strong drink. They are swallowed up with wine. They are out of the way through strong drink, right? Because they are not in the right spirit. Just like the Bishop Nathaniel said, he lost, he had a vision or a dream that he lost the oil years ago. And we could see that evident right now. They err in vision, they stumble in judgment. And that's why they keep changing. Like the scriptures say, a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So you're like a drunkard that can't walk a straight line. You may get a handle on it for a minute, but then you're going to stray off the line again. And that's what the Bishop Nathaniel is doing. And that's what his congregation is following behind. Remember, it says, let them alone, for they be blind leaders of the blind, and the blind lead the blind, they shall both of them fall into a ditch. And that's where they're heading. So, we believe, that the Lord could be using the Bishop Nathaniel to lead astray a lot of those followers that the Lord doesn't want. And then once they go off to the path and become destroyed, the Lord could take that reprobate spirit off of Bishop Nathaniel and even deliver him. We don't know. It remains to be seen. I mean, it's hard to see right now. It's hard to fathom, but nothing is impossible with the Most High. The Lord could do what he wants to do. It says, for all tables are full of what? Vomit and filthiness, so that there is no place clean. So what is this table? Is this truth, which becomes what? Another gospel. And that other gospel is filthy. It's inspired by seducing. So the tables are full of vomits. So it's a well mess. They have the Bible. They have the fringes. They pride in their fringes. They match. They marching. Everything seems to be in order. It seems to be well organized, but it's a well organized mess because the mechanism that's running it is not perfect. The mechanism that's running it is faulty, and we could see it. And we're trying to point it out to them, that you're going off on these things so you could correct it, but they scorn us. They hate us. They talk shit about us. They lie about us. Here it is, you got this big ass, truck driving on the street. It's leaking oil like profusely. And the guy driving next to you trying to tell you that you're leaking oil and you just keep fanning your hand. Like, yeah, shut up, man. You don't know what you're talking about. What's going to happen to that truck? Eventually down the road, it's going to break down. And we're trying to warn you before that happens, before that great crash happens. But in certain cases, as it seems in this one, it's inevitable. It says, for all tables are full of vomit and filthiness, so that there is no place clean. Because if you have a little leaven, it's going to leaven the whole lump. No lie is of the truth. You cannot marry a lie with truth. You cannot marry the truth with lies. It doesn't mix. It's like oil and water. I don't care how much you take oil and water, put it in a container, shake it up. It seems like it's coming together. As soon as you let it go or stop, it's going to separate. One is going to rise to the top. The other one's going to stay at the bottom. So that's what truth is to lies. It's like oil and water. They don't mix. So let's look up a couple of these words So I.U.I.C is a well-organized mess. Vomit and filthiness. Let's look up the word vomit. The word is kwa'a. Kwa'a. Vomit. What is vomited up? Right. Kwa'a. And it really doesn't say much. It's just pretty much vomit. And right here, Psalms 26 and 11. And you have some of those individuals that are returning back to their former religion. Like Gedaliah. He returned back to being a Christian, went back to the vomit, as the scripture 6:11. As a dog returning to his vomit, or a fool returning to his. All right. So that's the vomit, that's the filthiness. So let's look up the word filthiness. Taza'ah, which is filthiness, excrement, or shit. Pretty much is vomit and shit. So they're vomiting and shitting all over the place. See, used of the filth of sin, because you are not clean. Yahweh said, now are you clean through the words which I have spoken. But if you turn from that, it's like the dog returning back to his vomit, or returning back to vomit and excrement or shit. So they're a well-organized mess. So let's go from there. Let's go to the book of, back to Psalm 69 and 22. Let their table become a snare before them, a trap, and that which should have been for their welfare, let it become a trap. Let their eyes be darkened that they see not. And that's why they wrestle with the scriptures to their own destruction, as the Apostle Peter spoke about the letters of the Apostle Paul, that they were hard to be understood. And make their loins continually to shake, because they're teeter-tottering. You know, they're not stable. They have no stability. And the main stability, or the main anchor, Yahweh, they cast that out. The Most High in Yahweh's name, they pretty much cast it out. There's times when the bishop speaks about it, maybe some of the other deacons or whatever, but at the same time, the majority of his congregation, when they're out there teaching, they scorn that name. They hide that name. And they try to come up with that lame scripture, that the Lord put his word above his name. Well, not to say lame scripture, but lame breakdown, because the scriptures are not lame. So Salaka Yahweh Bashem Al-Shai for that. Not the lame scripture, but the lame breakdown of that scripture. The Lord putting his name, his word above his name, means that he's not going to break his word, not even for his holy name's sake. Because if he spoke it, he's going to keep it. Because his name, his word banks on his name, or his name banks on his word. That's all that means. But no, that means you got to keep the law above the Most High's name. The Lord's and Yahweh Shai's name out. So the Lord's going to destroy those individuals. Let have whom thou hast wounded, right? That's Yahweh Shai and the men that the Lord, chose to teach this ministry, that are suffering the same fate as Yahweh Shai, the same, afflictions, the same, rejections. It says, add iniquity unto their iniquity, and let them not come into thy righteousness. Let them be blotted out of the book of the living, and not be written with the righteous, right? So they're not going to be a part of the elect. I got a couple more precepts, Isaiah 65. So instead of getting in line with what the scriptures say, they pretty much are exalting, Esau's bullshit. Because when you teach about hell, you teach in Esau's bullshit, which he pretty much pushed through the Renaissance period, which he got that from Jake back in the past, who created all that shit. Created the fable of hell, and they're the only ones. The I.U.I.C are the only ones that teach that the new moon is the full moon. Those are two different phases of the moon, the new and the full. But this is part of the filthiness and the vomit, the excrement that they have on their table. But since it looks, it's like a piece of excrement with with a wedding dress on it and some jewelry. They dressed it up really nice. But really, when you go in there and you open up that prize, you see what's really in there. When you go in there, it says Isaiah 65:11, but you are they that forsake Yahweh, Bashem Haushai, that forget my holy mountain. Right. And you're causing Jake to forget who their power is and pushing Jesus and Christ and all of that, which is another Jesus. Because when Jake thinks about the Lord, even though you say he's a so-called black, they're thinking about the other white meat, the picture of Caesar Borgia. That prepare for that for Esau. A lot of these individuals that you see, they sold, don't have the proof of it, but just by their actions. Scriptures, the I.U.I.C said that we shall know them by their fruits. So by their actions, you can see that something is rotten in Denmark. And that furnish a drink offering unto that number. And that number is who? To Jake, the ones that are numbered for the sword. All right. So that table, the table for that troop, that's Esau. And Esau is infiltrating a lot of these groups, just like he infiltrated the ICGJC. Some of these other groups have been compromised. That's why they teach the wayward shit that they're teaching. That's why they're causing confusion that they're teaching. That's why they're changing up the doctrine. Because Esau's job is to destroy. He's relentless. He's going to keep going until the Lord takes him out the way. He thought he finished the job with the former One West, with the ICGJC, but didn't realize that the Lord caused some of the men to escape from that to be able to teach the true truth. And even some of them that had in mind to do that, they went astray from the actual teachings and are teaching other wayward doctrines because they have seducing spirits on them. So let's go from there to 1 Timothy chapter 6, all for some goddamn money that's being devalued by the day. 1 Timothy 6:9, but they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, right? If you love riches, you're going to fall into a snare, into a trap, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, right? Because when you got money, you want to spend money. You want to live it up. You want to enjoy that money. You don't want to just have stacks and stacks of money, and then here it is, you just living a stoic's life. You're not going to live like that for the most part. Now, you have exceptions to the rules, but for the most part, Jake, when they get money, they want to spend that money. They want to splurge. All right? This is why your man be jet setting all over the globe. And Smyrna. It says, which drown men in and perdition, meaning that this drown you in destruction. You're not going to, you can't serve the Most High and Mammon. You're either going to love one or hate the other. You're going to put more energy or effort into one or the other. And that's what the Lord said, that hardly can a rich man enter into the kingdom. Because when you have a lot of money, your whole focus is on spending that money. All right. It says, for the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they figure I put in 30 years of my life or however, 20 years or however much, and I have nothing to show for it. So they sell out for a few shekels and give up their chance and hope of salvation, which is a far greater reward than this money that's being devalued by the day. And when you sell out, just like you see these different artists out there, actors and all that, you have to keep doing shit to where it gets to the point where they're so conflicted that they don't know what to do with themselves. Sometimes they'll kill themselves. They try to go against the system. Try to go against their handlers, and their handlers make them look stupid, lock them up, or kill them. So it says, for the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. Why? Because at the end of all of that is destruction. Let's go from there to the last precept I have, Matthew 13:22. And this is the parable of the sower seed. It's a very good parable to go into because it gives it the 4 different types of men that the Lord brings into this truth. Matthew chapter 13, we're just going to go straight to the point in verse 22, says, he also that received the seed among the thorns, right, which is seed is the word, is he that heareth the word, right, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. One key individual that comes to mind is Killer Priest, Jeremiah, which used to be in the school. And for what I heard of him, he was a dynamic speaker. But, you know, he got involved. He got the money, he got the fame. Said he was going to go out there and teach the word, you know, blah, 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 and push the, you know, the word through the songs and all of that. And that never happened. Different crazy ass, you know, interviews about some bugged out shit that has nothing to do with Israel. He doesn't mention Israel. He don't talk about Israel at all. You see? And some of these other individuals are the same way. But instead, they're trying to destroy the gospel that has been entrusted to us. But they're only going to go so far because the Lord is going to only let them get so far. So the I.U.I.C is just a well-organized mess. It looks very good, but when you start to pick it apart, it doesn't stand up to scrutiny. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say, Shalom.